A little bit of ice up high, a little bit of snow up high. Descending Farrens. It's a beautiful, spectacular, gloomy morning. Really windy, and with the wind comes warm weather. The storm is blowing in, and I wanted to get in the trees to get out of the wind. But up high, as you can see, I got a little bit of ice, and it's gonna mellow out up here. But happy Saturday. My legs are tired today. Had a good week, and I can really feel the legs on the climb. I had a 3-mile climb, 1,400-foot climb, and now I'm just coming down and pull up here. And so it's been an exciting few weeks. It's marathon week, marathon season, and had one of my athletes do Chicago Marathon a few weeks ago, and have a few athletes racing today. One athlete today is doing a trail marathon with 4,100 feet of climbing and 26 miles. So that's about 160 feet of climbing per mile. So kind of an exciting time. New York City Marathon, got athletes there next week. So it's kind of a fun time for Coach. Anyways, kind of wanted to talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make in a marathon or a race in general, and that's starting out too hard and kind of having diminishing returns later in the race. So kind of used two examples. One of my athletes who ran Chicago Marathon a couple weeks ago was his goal was to do a PB. You know, he ran a 2:53, which is his personal best. And so my first tip of trying not to start out too fast is to have a plan. It sounds obvious, but to have a plan to not go out too hard. And with this racer, you know, trying to hit a personal best at a flat marathon, you know, is tricky business, because you've got to really, really settle into a steady pace, and you can't deviate a whole lot, or you're gonna, you know, a little bit goes a long way as far as losing time or losing time because you went too fast. So we had a specific race strategy for the first part of the race to actually hold him back so he doesn't get stuck in the adrenaline of the start and all the other racers taking off. So we had a very, very specific, you're not going faster than this during the first part of the race, and then allowing him to settle in and then pick up the pace the last 10K or so to kind of make up for that time and make up time. So it worked like a dream. But the key with this is that we had the plan. Today's marathoner, the trail marathoner, since it's a lot of hilly terrain, I can't give him pace to hold him back. So we have to go by heart rate. And so the first part of the course is very hilly. So he had strict strategies to really keep his heart rate under a certain beats per minute on the hills, and then focus on the downhills. So he's holding himself back on the uphills, and then keeping the level of effort appropriate for the distance. And then our goal was to negative split the second half of the race. But where all this kind of comes together of having a plan is what you can do that's easy. It's something we all can do. All the elite athletes do it. It's free, and it's some of the most powerful performance enhancing training strategies you can do is to visualize. And so during the week prior to a race, I'll have my athletes visualize their strategy. They'll take themselves through the entire race, seeing every part of that race, seeing themselves execute the race strategy. So they're training their brain to realize that hey, this is what the race is going to be. And there's tons of science out there that show that whether you're visualizing or actually doing something, the brain sees it as no different. So we're practicing the race all week long through visualization. So once you come to race day, it's already taken place, and you just have to execute. You know exactly what you have to do. It works extremely well. Okay. Second point of helping race day performance and not going out too hard is I had an athlete contact me this morning who's following one of my training plans for a marathon. And I think it's the Marine Corps marathon in DC. And his question was about the warm-up. So in the training plan, he has a specific warm-up, and he wanted to know how to execute that warm-up. And the warm-up goes something like this. It's 20 minutes, very easy, get the blood flowing, and then do 3 to 4 by 1 to 2 minute intervals building to race anticipated effort. Okay, so his question was how soon before the race we do this, and you have to do two things. Every marathon's different, especially if it's a big marathon where you're having to deal with a lot of people. So I suggested to him, get to the race really early, do the 20-minute easy warm-up, get the blood flowing. If the weather's a concern, that's a good time for you to really dial into what type of apparel you're going to wear, if that's a concern, and get that 20 minutes in, away from the race start, someplace you're going to be able to do it. And then do what you need to do, hit the restroom, and then make your way to the start, and then try to do the intervals as close to the start of the race as possible. And again, every race is a little different. You've got to just do your best. And the key there is that you're doing these intervals as close to the race as possible. So you're elevating your heart rate, and trying to keep that heart rate somewhat elevated as you start the race. So you're not getting that initial spike in heart rate or effort that sometimes we hear considered, hey, you need to catch your second wind. We want to avoid that. Okay. So starting the race with a really, really low heart rate and getting caught in the adrenaline of the race and starting out right at race pace, you're going to spike your effort. And by doing these intervals, you're going to minimize that. And it's going to be a much smoother transition. Essentially, you're taking your heart rate from a little bit higher to race. It's not as great of a jump versus really low and spiking it and getting that out of breath feeling you might experience early in a race and having to catch that second wind. So doing these intervals are super, super important. They're not going to tire you out, and they're really going to help the brain and the body get used to that race intensity that you're going to need when, and again, avoid going out too hard, which is, again, the most common mistake and the point of this video. So don't go out too hard. Settle in, have a plan, know what too hard is, and you'll be fine. So hope that helps. All right, I'm gonna head down. I'm getting a little chilly hanging out here. Hope you guys have a good weekend. And again, thanks again for chiming in. Thanks again for all the comments. Really super helpful to start getting your mindset around these crazy videos. My whole point of these videos is maybe I kind of pride myself coaching of all the little things that we can do that maybe you don't think about or don't hear about that add up to make great gains. So that's my purpose, and hope you're enjoying it. And again, keep giving your feedback. So over and out. See ya.